Welcome to SUAANGAN. I'm your host, Janine Blake. On today's program, we bring you a beneficiary profile of Gordon Norberg, the Manager of Marketing and Traffic Coordination West for NTCL, the Northern Transportation Company Limited.
Northern Transportation Company Limited, or NTCL as it's known, is a northern company which provides economic, reliable, and comprehensive marine transportation and related services in northern Canada and Alaska. It is the principal transportation link for the movement of bulk petroleum products and dry cargo to communities across the north, from Alaska's North Slope to Inuvialuit on Baffin Island, defense installations, and oil and gas exploration sites. NTCL is a long-established northern company with over 60 years of service and experience in northern operations. It has provided marine transportation and related services throughout the Mackenzie River watershed since 1934 and along the western Arctic coast since 1957. Arctic service was extended to Alaska's North Slope in 1963, and in 1975, Keewatin operations were inaugurated. In 1987, NTCL established Nortran, a marshalling and packaging service for sealift cargo out of Montreal to the Eastern Arctic. In 1996, NTCL acquired the contract for bulk petroleum product delivery to Eastern Arctic communities. The delivery of products throughout the North just doesn't happen. It takes a team of experienced, dedicated, professional employees and a significant inventory of equipment and facilities to ensure deliveries occur. During its history, the company's equipment and handling methods have changed significantly. In days gone by, much of the dry cargo was loaded and unloaded by hand. Fuel was shipped in drums. Today, cargo is shipped in containers. Petroleum products are shipped in bulk. While the equipment and handling methods have changed over time, the dedication, innovation, and commitment of NTCL's employees is something which has not changed. NTCL takes pride in the technical expertise and experience of its highly skilled and well-trained workforce. As well as its impressive inventory of vessels, equipment, barges, and shore-based facilities. The company and its employees have been recognized by the Northwest Territories Chamber of Commerce with the Business of the Year Award and by Human Resources Development Canada with the prestigious Employment Equity Certificate of Merit Award for its innovative Aboriginal employment, training, and career development program.
Gordon Norberg is the Manager of Marketing and Traffic Coordination West for NTCL. His parents are Lena Danielson and the late John Norberg. They were living at a trading post called Reed Island, which is located between Kugluktuk and Holman Island. The trading post has been closed down for many years now. Gordon and his family lived there until he was 8 years old.
We moved to Tuktoyak My parents decided it was time for me to go to school. I was already 8, and it was either move to Koloktok, it was copper mine at the time, or move to Tuck. And my father decided to move to Tuck because he was working for the Hudson Bay at the time. And he was a captain for the Hudson Bay, and that was where the ships were loaded as when they resupplied the Arctic, you know. So that's how we ended up in the Western Arctic. 1956, we moved to Tuck. As I said earlier, I was 8 years old when we moved to Tuck. At the time, I couldn't speak a word of English, but understood it quite well because both my parents spoke English as well as Inuvialuit, which was my working language at the age of 8. So it was a lot of fun moving to a community that had a different language, a different dialect as well, because couldn't understand a lot of what the kids were saying. So that was the early part. But I picked up English very quickly in school, and I always enjoyed school. So I went through grade 1 to 6 in Tuck. Summers were nice. I enjoyed the summers, but we were always busy, and no TV and radio back then. You know, life by the sea was always nice. Hard work, but nice. Yeah. Well, because our father was away for long stretches, as he was a captain of the Hudson Bay in the summer. He was also trapped in winter, so obviously he's gone quite a bit, and we had to carry, the brothers and I had to carry kind of the workload, including splitting, you know, cutting wood and splitting wood, hauling ice, filling up the ice barrel. All of those kind of things, feeding the dogs, you know, going out to get wood with the dog team, and everything just to keep going, because there was no forced air furnaces back then. You know, when you woke up in the morning in the wintertime, it was cold in the house. So in the summers, we had to put up a lot of fish to feed the dogs. You know, so that was a lot of work. We had to haul water by the barrel and by the bucket, and never ending. You were never bored during the summertime.
Gordon attended grades 1 to 6 in Tuck. Then he had to move away from home to attend high school.
The family stayed in Tuck, and at the time, if you wanted to keep going, and my parents wanted me to keep going, obviously. I went to Grolier Hall in Inuvialuit for my grade 7 and 8, actually. I was only there 2 years, and then I went to Fort Smith. Grandin College invited me to go to school there, and it was funny. My father wouldn't sign the papers. He thought I was going to become a priest, you know, and long ways from it. But my mother said, "You're going," you know, but for the study environment. So I took my high school, grade 9 to 12, and graduated in Fort Smith through Grandin College.
After these messages, we'll talk with Gordon about his work with NTCL. We're back with our profile of Gordon Norberg, the Manager of Marketing and Traffic Coordination West for NTCL. In the first part of our story, we talked to Gordon about his family and education. Now we'll talk to him about his work.
I think in 1974, I landed a job with a GWT in Inuvik, and it was with the Petroleum Resources Group. That particular group, if you remember, and if we go back to then, the oil play was starting to go strong in the Delta. The Dempster Highway was under construction, so our particular group at the time was charged or tasked with monitoring the developments in the Delta. And after that, I went to Inuvialuit for about a year with economic development in the employment and training side. Back to Inuvik again, still with the GWT. In 1977, I joined Dome Petroleum for about 5 years. in human resources, and then went back into with their engineering group. A number of polar gas come into the picture at the time. There was the polar gas pipeline projects. I went to work for them for about a year. And then I went on my own into Saskatchewan. I'd asked my brother-in-law if he could teach an Inuk to farm. My wife is from Saskatchewan. And he said, well, if you're willing to learn, he said, you come on down. So we moved down, lived in Saskatchewan for 4.5 years, learned how to farm, as well as worked on the production side of the oil industry at the same time. So then I went into public service again, 10 years with the Housing Corp, and was 2.5 years with MACA prior to joining NTCL in '98. So very quickly, that's the resume. Yeah.
Carmen Loberg is the president of Norterra, the parent company of NTCL.
It's the largest pan-Arctic marine resupply company in Canada. We sail throughout the entire Canadian Arctic out of a head office in Hay River. So we operate the tug and barge system down the Mackenzie River, resupplying fuel and dry goods to all the communities in the Western Arctic and into the Central Arctic. In the western part of Nunavut, we sail out of the port of Churchill and resupply the Kivilik region with fuel and dry cargo resupply. And in the Eastern Arctic, we resupply that out of Montreal. So we do all the sea lift work for the Canadian Arctic.
It's a good company to work for. It's like anybody else. I mean, you need to participate in order to make it work properly, within the organization. It's going through a transition. It had been a Crown corporation for some time, and so there was the transition from the Crown, from being a Crown corporation to a private company has taken some time. As I think everyone's aware that it's Inuvialuit owned, and Nunavut is the IDC and Nunavut own Norterra, who in turn are the parent arm of NTCL. So, but I've enjoyed it. My time so far, very challenging, but they're a very good company to work for. We'd need to break it down probably into at least 2 seasons. We're very seasonally oriented at this time, and this is something that the company is trying to move away from by diversifying. But primarily, the summer months are consumed with moving cargo north and on a 24-hour basis. And so May through to October, we're very busy moving cargo. My job is to coordinate the movement of all that cargo to where it's supposed to go. In the off season, there's all of the other activities that kick in, and that's the marketing side, which is partly responsible for the Western Arctic and especially in the Tikmud region. So that you're visiting customers, soliciting more business, paying visits to people in the communities, and seeing if we can do things better. Typical day right now, I mean, we work very closely with a lot of people, and there's a tremendous amount of coordination that has to take place. My role is to kind of see the big picture and to work with, as an example, the cargo operations group, with a technical and maintenance group, and with a marine operations group, and together we have to make everything work so that everything from fielding calls on the telephone, people wanting pricing as an example, or rates, people wanting information on cutoff dates, people wanting information on when are we going, when are we sailing, when are we going to be arriving at community so-and-so. So it's a lot of telephone work and a lot of logistical planning goes on around for the majority of the day. And a big part of my role too is, a huge part of my role I should say, is procuring and and coordinate the movement of all of bulk petroleum that we move north. All of the fuel that's required in the Arctic communities, as well as the river.
SUAANGAN will return after these messages for more on our profile of Gordon Norberg.
When asked about his favorite duties, Gordon replied that he loves a challenge.
Probably, and this is something that I've always enjoyed right from the beginning of my work life, is solving problems. Everything is not always smooth or as easy as one likes to make it out. So I particularly like trying to work through solutions that so that things get done. You know, you may come up against a roadblock. Earlier in my career, I was considered somewhat as Mr. Fix-It, and in my movement through the public service, where we had problems in certain offices, I would be one of the people sent in to say, you know, fix it. And I enjoy challenging, like a challenging environment. Once it becomes routine, I lose interest in it. So, and this job doesn't get routine in the summer. It's not routine in the summer. So there's always something. I mean, we move a lot of cargo. We have a lot of vessels in the water. We have time frames that are very tight sometimes, and we have to find solutions to get all our work done. So that part I quite enjoy. Most of them are probably things outside of our immediate control, and in anybody's time or world that presents challenges. It may sound funny when we're shipping to the Arctic, but forest fires are one of our biggest fears. All of our fuel arrives in the river by train from Edmonton. And there's lots of bridges. And forest fires have burnt bridges out that have stopped the flow of fuel. So those kind of things worry us when we see forest fires, say in Alberta. Right? And how do we get all the product that's required in the Arctic if that happens, if there's a disruption in supply? So a lot of these items are outside of our direct control, and it's happened where we've lost train service, as an example, using that example, for a week or 10 days. And in fact, last year we lost it after that big fire in Chisholm, until they were able to recertify bridges that trains cross. So things like that are outside of our control are challenges. Other challenges, obviously, are a lot of them. Some of them are internal. You know, I mean, you always have your internal politics that you have to work through, and, as in any organization. You know, and in trying to get the job done, you really have to work with a lot of people, so that, you know, your people skills have to be there. I mean, you're not in charge of everybody. Right, so my role is to try and keep a team going, or as a member of the team, to make sure we all do our part in order to get all the freight delivered. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that what we do, as long as the customer is happy and as long as the customer gets their product, whether it's in Tulujac or Sax Harbor or in Toledo. They don't care what's going on at the other, as long as they get their product or their cargo. You know?
Although Norberg has little time for travel during the peak season, it is an important part of his job.
During the winter months or during the off season, yes, there's a fair amount of travel related to the marketing side, related to visiting our customers, whether they're in Calgary or in Winnipeg, or they're in Coquitlam or Cambridge Bay, Inuvik, you know. the major centers primarily, but I try and get to as many communities as I can. Yeah. And it can get onerous at times, but it's showing the flag. I mean, you know, the message that we want to send is that to the Inuvialuit, especially on the western side, is that you own this company. Are there things we could be doing better? That, you know, those kinds of things. Yeah. But yes, there is travel involved. In the summers, I enjoy gardening with my wife. You leave everything behind, you go outside, you help water, weed, whatever it might take, you know, survive the bugs, you know, the mosquitoes. And, so I enjoy doing that in the summertime. In the winters, I do a lot of my own, say, housework in terms of carpentry or plumbing or electrical work. So I like doing those kind of things. And I was doing a crossword before you come in. And I do crossword puzzles as a way to clear your mind a bit, you know, and things like that.
As for his advice for young people, Norberg is quick to stress the need for a proper education.
Well, first of all, finish your school. Make sure that they've got their education. You know? And this is something that we've been very strong in promoting in any of our travels. That kids stay in school, get your grade 12, you know, because you're not going to go anywhere. That's number one. Get your education first. And the second thing is be prepared to show up. You know, you're going to work for us, then you show up on time and when you're needed, not when you want to be there. Yes, and be prepared to work long hours and work hard and work steady and stick to it. But most of all is get an education, and the more you get, the better off you're going to be. You know, whether it's college, a trade, or university, it's something you can hang your hat on. You know. Definitely. Then come see us.
The question of the week is, in which community does Gordon Norberg work?
Phone in tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Give your name, your phone number, and the answer. The names will be drawn at 4:30 p.m.
That was our program for this week. Thank you for watching SUAANGAN. I'm your host, Janine Blake, and I'll see you next week.
Production assistance for this program was provided by Norterra Incorporated.